The graphic memoir Fun Home by Alison Bechdel explores her childhood and coming of age while dealing with internal and family problems. As an adolescent, growing up and changing is already hard enough, but Allison also struggled with grappling her gender identity when there were different societal expectations than how she wanted to identify herself. Gender identity. As she was growing up, Allison felt shame with herself and her body. Little things like starting her period or even having boobs frustrated Allison because she was not comfortable with how she looked and had a hard time accepting that she was a woman and had feminine features. Allison found that she felt more comfortable wearing men's clothing and was shocked but felt joy when she saw the truck driver Butch woman. She had never seen someone that was dressed as the opposite sex. So when she seemed excited asking her father about the woman, she got embarrassed and insecure when he questioned if that is what she wanted to look like. She said no and left it alone because she knew her father wanted her to wear barrettes and flowers because she would look more pretty and like a girl. Allison knew that it was more socially accepted to wear women's clothing as a woman, even though she didn't feel like it was comfortable and she didn't like how it looked. She fantasized about thin, flat-chested, slender men because she figured that's what she was attracted to. But in all reality, it was because she wished that she could look like that as well. The TV series Glee is relatable to Fun Home because some of the characters coming of age struggle with gender identity, whether it's being gay or in this case, transgender. Both Allison and Unique understand that neither of them feel comfortable being the person that society expects them to be. Allison always knew what she wanted to look like, even though it wasn't what was expected of her. She grew up grappling with gender identity because she always knew deep down what felt right to her, even though, for a long time, she thought that it was wrong and shameful to feel that way. She would cling to her tomboy aesthetic to avoid femininity. Repression versus openness and artifice. All this time that Allison was avoiding femininity, Bruce was also struggling with how he identified himself around people and then behind closed doors. After a while, Allison accepted that she was a lesbian and would identify herself in that way. But unfortunately for Bruce, he couldn't do the same. His whole life, he tried to hide the fact that he was gay. Allison felt a connection with him when she found out that they might be more similar than she had thought. She found pictures of Bruce dressed like a woman and felt as though she could relate because her tendencies to dress like a man. The way that he was posing seemed too serious to be a joke. She also wondered if the pictures taken of him like that from college were taken by his lover, like the pictures of her were taken by hers. It felt too good to be good. When Allison was growing up, she played dress up, just to try on men's clothing. Her friend thought of it as a game, but to Allison, it was much more than that. Both Allison and Bruce have dressed up to feel closer to their true identities. Once Allison dressed in men's clothing, she felt comfortable and like herself. She felt like she was somebody that she wanted to be, not somebody that she was expected to be. Allison Bechdel uses many technical aspects throughout Fun Home. When Allison was ready to come out to her parents, she wrote them a letter from school. This image shows the word lesbian, big and boldly. The color schemes of Fun Home are blue, black, and white. The words and design of this particular box are presented this way to get the point across that the importance of the slide is what the words were that she was writing, and not that she was just writing her parents another time. Allison was open about who she was and how she felt, while Bruce was repressed and afraid to be himself. He was so afraid that he tried to stay busy to ignore his reality. If you have ever seen Shameless, then you know that Ian is comfortable with who he is and is okay with identifying himself as gay, while Mickey had a hard time at first. These characters relate to Allison and Bruce. A major theme of Fun Home is artifice. For a long time, Allison felt as though Bruce was very artificial and distant. Bruce was obsessed with decorating his house to hide his true identity of being gay, and even more specifically, having affairs with teenage boys. Bruce liked the idea of being a family man to hide his identity. He worked so hard to create what looked like an ideal life. Allison and her family were surrounded by artificial happiness that Bruce tried to create. How do you perceive this strip? While Bruce looks like a family man, he is masking his real feelings and insecurities. Bruce is the focus of this panel, and although Allison is expressing how perfect he might appear, the sneaky or even insecure look on Bruce's face might lead you to believe that he isn't. If the people surrounding him knew who he really was, this image might have come out differently because they would think of him as a man who is not the ideal husband and father that he worked so hard to create an image to be. After Allison came out to her parents, she tried to have a connection with Bruce when she found out about his secret identity of being gay. Bruce came out to Allison about his gender identity struggles all these years, which made Allison feel closer to him. When she tried to connect with him, she didn't get the outcome that she necessarily expected. When she said she dressed in men's clothing secretly like he did women's, he got uncomfortable, probably because this was a big insecurity to him, and he felt as though he couldn't be as open about it as Allison was, which was hard for him because he was older and grew up in a different time. As much as he wanted to come out, he had a hard time because he knew that it wasn't socially accepted. The panels from the last slide demonstrate time frames and how to connect multiple boxes to create a single idea. The boxes from the previous slide show one single conversation in many boxes to show how the time passes, but is also one idea and conversation. As you can see, Allison and Bruce are in the car together. Yes, there are many boxes, but it's all happening at one time. There's the one conversation, but it's presented in different slides to show how things change and to show how they started being open and transformed to Bruce being uncomfortable. Gender identity, repression versus openness, and artifacts played big roles in the creation of Fun Home. Allison and Bruce both struggled with gender identity, being gay, and coping with it in different ways. The way they deal with their problems leads them to how they identify themselves. Allison was open with herself and made everything easier and clearer for her. She grew to be comfortable and happy with who she was. Unfortunately for Bruce, he tried to keep up an artificial life and appearance. He didn't get to be as open and free as Allison was.